Selling your manufactured home should be an exciting moment, a time to move on to your next big adventure. But then you get a call from your real estate agent and the news hits you like a ton of bricks. The buyer's lender is flagging a problem with the foundation. Suddenly, your deal is on the ropes, all because your home sits on piers and isn't considered permanent. It's a stressful, frustrating situation that happens all the time. Many homeowners, and even some real estate pros, see a house sitting solidly on concrete piers, see a house on concrete blocks, and naturally assume it's permanent. It looks solid, it feels solid. So what's the big deal? That confusion often boils over right in the middle of escrow, which is the absolute worst time for surprises. They need documentation, an official certification proving the home is affixed to the land according to a very specific set of rules. These rules aren't just about stability, they're about transforming the home from personal property, like a vehicle, into real property, like a traditional site-built house. Without that proof, the loan gets denied, the buyer walks away, and you're back to square one, scratching your head and wondering what went wrong. This is a common hurdle, so don't feel like you're alone in this. The core of the problem is a gap between what looks permanent to our eyes and what a lender considers permanent on paper. A lender's definition is tied to strict engineering standards and legal classifications. It's not just about being sturdy, it's about meeting a checklist that satisfies federal housing guidelines, local building codes, and the lender's own risk management policies. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. What does permanent foundation really mean for a manufactured home? It's not just a vague idea of stability, it's a specific set of criteria. First, age requirement. FHA, VA, built on or after June 15, 1976. That's when HUD put new construction and safety standards in place. Homes built before 1976 often have a much harder time qualifying. If you don't own the dirt, it's nearly impossible to qualify as real property. This ownership piece must be in place before any physical work. Third, the foundation must meet engineering and local code requirements. Concrete blocks and basic piers alone aren't enough. Concrete footings dug below the frost line. Steel anchors or straps linking the chassis to the footings. Proper support piers. A simple pier and block setup without deep footings usually doesn't make the cut. Finally, paperwork. Physical work alone is not enough. A licensed engineer or inspector must sign off. They certify compliance with HUD, FHA, and local codes. That often results in a specific document. In California, it's often an engineer's certification or a 433A form. That piece of paper is the golden ticket. It legally converts the home from personal property to real property, unlocking access to the best financing options. The good news is that this problem often has a solution. It's not a deal breaker, but it is a wake-up call. We're going to break down exactly what a permanent foundation is, what it takes to convert your home, who you need on your team, and how to decide if the investment is worth it. Think of this as your game plan. We'll cut through the jargon, get straight to the facts, and give you the confidence to tackle this challenge head-on. So, you've discovered your home is on a pier-set system and not a certified permanent foundation. The big question, can you fix it? Short answer, in many cases, yes. A pier-set home is not a dead end. It's a great house that just needs its foundation finalized and certified. For most manufactured homes built after 1976 and in decent structural shape, conversion is well established. It means upgrading the system to modern engineering and lending standards. It usually adds engineered components. New steel straps wrapping chassis beams. New concrete footings poured deep into the ground. More robust tie-downs and anchors to prevent uplift in high winds. The aim? Tie the home and ground together so an engineer can certify it. But be realistic. Conversion isn't always possible or practical. Hard limits, very old homes, especially pre-1976. Significant structural damage from water, damage from pests, general deterioration from age. Location issues, Flood zones, very unstable soil. The key is figuring which camp your home is in. The only way to know, bring in a professional. A licensed contractor can do an initial inspection and give a ballpark. They'll spot red flags like a bent frame or major deterioration. Then a structural engineer gives the definitive answer. They'll assess the home, the site, and the local requirements and tell you if it's possible and exactly what needs doing. Once you've decided to move forward with a foundation conversion, the process follows a fairly predictable path. Think of it as a recipe. Follow the steps in order, and you'll end up with a certified foundation. The very first step is to get a thorough structural inspection. You need a professional, a contractor with manufactured home experience, or an inspector with manufactured home experience, to get under there and take a hard look. They will assess the condition of the existing piers, chassis, skirting, the ground itself. Their report will be your initial roadmap. The second, and arguably most critical step, is to hire a licensed structural engineer. This is not a step you can skip. The engineer takes the inspection info and designs the actual foundation system. They create a formal plan, drawings, specifications, that outline exactly how the home will be anchored. The plan is tailored to your home, soil conditions, local building codes. It will specify depth and size of the concrete footings, type and placement of the steel straps and anchors, any other required supports. This engineer's report is the foundation of the entire project. Third, with the engineer's plan in hand, your contractor will pull the necessary permits from your local building department. Never let a contractor start work without a permit. It can cause massive headaches. Once permits are approved, the real work begins. Step 4. Construction. The contractor and crew execute the engineer's plan. This may involve digging trenches for footings, pouring concrete, installing heavy-duty steel anchors, bolting everything securely to the home's chassis. They'll also ensure the home is perfectly level and properly supported on its piers. The final steps are verification and paperwork. After work is complete, 2 inspections happen. First, the local building inspector visits the site to confirm the work matches the permitted plans. Second, the engineer often returns for a final inspection to confirm their design was implemented correctly. Once everyone is satisfied, the engineer issues the official certification. That document states the foundation complies with required standards. This certification is what you'll provide to the lender, finally proving your home is on a permanent foundation and ready for financing as real property. A successful foundation conversion is a team sport, and it's important to understand each player's role. You, the homeowner, are the team captain, but you'll be relying on a few key professionals to get you across the finish line. The first person you'll likely bring on board is the specialized contractor. This is the hands-on expert, the one who does the heavy lifting. Their job is to build and install the physical foundation system according to the engineer's plans. They will manage the crew. They will order the materials. They will perform the actual construction, from digging the footings to tightening the last bolt on the tie-down straps. Next up is the structural engineer. The engineer acts as the brains of the operation. The engineer's role is to design a system that is safe, effective, and compliant with all the rules. They don't typically do any physical labor themselves. Instead, they analyze the site. They calculate the load requirements. They create the official blueprint that the contractor follows. After the work is done, the engineer inspects the final installation and provides their professional stamp of approval. Then, you have the folks on the money side, the lender, and the appraiser. The lender, whether for a refinance or a buyer's mortgage, sets the requirements. They will say, "We need an engineer's certification stating this foundation meets FHA guidelines." Their role is to review all the final paperwork, the engineer's certification, the building permits, and the appraiser's report. They won't tell you how to build the foundation, but they will tell you what standard it needs to meet. The appraiser often acts as the lender's eyes and ears. These roles can overlap. Good communication between all these players is crucial for a smooth process. So, you'll want everyone talking. Let's talk about the two things every homeowner wants to know. How much will this cost? How long will it take? The honest answer is that the costs for a permanent foundation conversion can vary. A lot. Giving an exact dollar amount is impossible without looking at a specific project, but we can break down the variables that drive the price up or down. The biggest factor is the size and type of your manufactured home. A larger, triple-wide home will naturally require more materials, more anchors, more labor than a smaller single-wide home, so its conversion will cost more. The condition of the site and the home itself also plays a huge role in the final bill. If your property is on a steep slope or has difficult, rocky soil, the labor and equipment costs for digging footings will be higher. If your home is older and needs other repairs before the foundation work can even begin, like fixing a soft floor or a slightly bent frame, those costs will need to be added to the budget. Furthermore, your location matters. Work in a remote, rural area can cost more due to contractor travel time and the expense of transporting materials. Conversely, permit fees in a dense urban area might be higher. Beyond the contractor's bill, you also need to budget for the professional fees. The structural engineer's fee is a necessary and important part of the cost. This can range from several hundred to a few $1,000s, depending on the complexity of the design and whether they need to make multiple site visits. You'll also have to pay for the building permits from your local jurisdiction, which can vary from place to place. It's essential to get a detailed quote from your contractor that breaks down all these items: labor, materials, engineering fees, permit costs, so you have a clear picture of the total investment. As for the timeline, that also depends on a few key variables. The actual construction work itself can often be completed in a matter of days or a week or two, depending on the crew's efficiency and the weather. However, the biggest delays often come from administrative hurdles. Waiting for the engineer to complete the initial plans can take time. The biggest bottleneck, though, is often the local building department. Depending on how busy they are, it can take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months just to get the permit approved. Plan for this. A realistic timeline from your first call to final certification is typically 1 to 3 months. So, be patient. So why all the fuss about this one part of the house? Why do lenders, FHA, and the VA care so deeply about whether your home is on a permanent foundation? The answer comes down to one word: risk. For a lender, a mortgage is a long-term investment, often spanning 30 years. They need to be confident that the collateral for that loan, your home, is going to be stable, secure, valuable for the entire life of the loan. A home that is properly and permanently affixed to its foundation is seen as a durable, long-lasting structure, much like a traditional site-built house. When a manufactured home is certified as real property, it opens the door to the best financing options available. Buyers can then use conventional mortgages, FHA loans, VA loans to purchase the home. These loans typically offer lower interest rates, lower down payment requirements, longer repayment terms. This makes your home affordable to a much larger pool of potential buyers, often a faster sale at a higher price. What's the alternative? Without that permanent foundation certification, a manufactured home is generally treated as personal property, chattel. The only financing available is often a chattel loan, more like a car or RV loan, with higher interest rates and shorter terms, 10 or 15 years instead of 30, which shrinks your buyer pool dramatically. Should you do it? It makes perfect sense if the numbers work in your favor, if the expected increase in value is significantly more than the cost of the conversion. In markets reliant on FHA, VA, conventional, upgrading makes your home competitive. In others, do the math, talk to pros, and choose wisely. Permanent foundation isn't about looks, it's about compliance, and compliance determines financing.